Good morning all, and welcome to OpenTrack's Virtual Racing webinar today. You've got me as your host, Richard Ollington, and Gus Upton and Andy Weir may be joining later. I'll be doing the upfront presentation of virtual racing, what it's about, what its benefits are, as well as who OpenTrack are and what we've done over the last few years of operation. Then I'll pass over to Gus Upton, who will go through some YouTube video tutorials on how to use OpenTrack in setting up your very own virtual race. First off, who are OpenTrack? So OpenTrack are a global competition management software that are specific to athletics events. We cater to track and field events, indoors and outdoors, as well as cross-country and mountain races. Most recently, we've ventured into virtual racing, which is why you're all here today. Over the years, we started off focused just on Surrey cross-country league racing and organising all of that. And as the years have gone on, I moved into organising British Masters races, as well as providing the federation management software for countries around Europe. Our team is currently based with 4 board members, as well as several full-time and part-time employees. Andy Robinson set up OpenTrack, and Andy Weir has been alongside Andy Robinson since the start. Gus Upton has been with OpenTrack for a couple of years and helps with the back end as well as the organising of races. And myself, I'm being brought on to help with virtual racing and organising that aspect of OpenTrack. OpenTrack provide an end-to-end solution that benefits all of participants, race organisers, as well as athletics federations. Before, in the world of athletics, race participants would be required to email in their interests for races. Organisers would process all the emails, create start sheets, create scoring sheets and scoring tables on Excel, all of which is a very time-consuming process that's hard to pass on to others in the club and creates for inefficiencies. OpenTrack went out to fix this with their end-to-end solution, which has made organising races much easier for volunteers and club members and athletics federations, and participating in races and viewing results much easier for participants. Unlike many other competition management systems, OpenTrack was designed by athletes for athletics. So you'll see a lot of the systems have club athletics in mind. In the UK, we've got the majority of registered clubs in our system, and it's very easy for new clubs to be added. And then the product is a bespoke offering with scoring that can be tailored to whatever the needs of the competition, whether that's a 6-person relay team, a 12-person relay team, whether it's calculated by the total time or by the positions added up. So the reason you guys all came here, virtual racing, what is it? Well, virtual racing started as a reaction to the UK's shutdown following COVID-19. With the introduction of social distancing rules, meant that standard racing wasn't applicable anymore, and a new form of racing was needed. Virtual racing lets athletes compete on their own, near their home, using GPS verified tracking. So that way you can have competitions that span across the UK, across the world even, all from the comfort of one's own local area. This brings benefits, virtual racing brings benefits beyond just complying to social distancing rules. Virtual racing also reduces the cost of organising events. No longer do event organisers need to hire a venue and spend hours setting up events. There's also increased participation from virtual racing, as international athletes are able to represent their clubs without having to fly back for the opportunity. Younger or older athletes who previously may not have been able to travel to partake in events are able to partake from the comfort of their own local area. Also, race capacities in the long run won't be constrained as much as venues are constrained. So where previously Sutton Park may only have taken 2,000 people in a race, on a server you're able to cater for many thousands more. Virtual racing also has fewer time constraints. Often races, partly to comply with social distancing rules, are spread over multiple days, allowing people to pick and choose when they want to race. This makes it much easier for people to time their races around their training, as well as maybe coming back from injury. Also, with virtual racing not required a set start time, there isn't any deadline required for race entry, which means that athletes are able to enter while the competition has already started. And what this means is every competition is able to create a much larger buzz around it as new athletes join mid-competition and upload their results as the competition goes on. A final benefit of virtual racing is the extra scoring flexibility that is made available. No longer, in the example of a road relay, no longer are you constrained by the 12 people you've submitted in your team. Instead, you can submit multiple teams, such as an age-adjusted team, a mixed team, a team of 12, as well as a team of 6. And yeah, scoring can be done for all of those different team combinations all at once. Finally, wanted to mention how OpenTrack have been at the forefront in developing virtual racing since the very start of the shutdown in the UK. In the UK, non-essential activities, including public gatherings, was shut down on the 23rd of March. Already in advance of that, OpenTrack had developed their software to cater to virtual racing and had put on a club virtual 5-mile race, which later got included in a mock Southern Road relay with 3 clubs. 2 weeks after that, from the 3rd of April, going on for a week, the virtual national road relays was set up and got registrations from 5,000 competitors and catered to 140 clubs. I'm now going to pass you on to my colleague Gus Upton, who will go through the back end of OpenTrack and show you all how to sign up to OpenTrack, set up your clubs, and organise your own club races. If throughout this you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the question panel in the GoToWebinar.
Okay, perfect. Do you want to just make me presenter? Awesome. Thank you, Richard. So morning everyone, Gus Upton here. Just a quick thank you to Richard there. So he only joined up with us a week or so ago and has been a huge help so far, especially with the virtual racing aspect of OpenTrack, but he's had a big hand in other things already. and he'll be the main, or at least the first point of contact for all things virtual racing for the foreseeable future. Any queries and that sort of thing should still go through to the support@OpenTrack.run email address, but Richard is going to be that first point of contact. For those of you who I haven't met, virtually or otherwise, I'm Gus. I'm the operations manager at OpenTrack, and I've been here for about 18 months now. All I'm going to do with you now, just as a bit more information following Richard's introduction, is to go through some screens and a few video manuals that we've been preparing that essentially will detail how that you can set up a virtual competition. A lot of this is the same to the normal meetings. So those of you who are accustomed to how we work and how the competition management system works, you will be familiar with some of these screens. But there will be some slight differences that make it bespoke to the virtual racing world. Richard has the link to all of these videos that we have uploaded to YouTube already. They're all in his presentation, which we will be able to share at the end of this meeting. So I'm just going to go over to the YouTube page here. As you see, we've got 15 of them loaded up. So I'm not going to show all of these. Some of them are very detailed and quite lengthy. So there's just a select few that we're going to display and demonstrate, which will show you the ease of setting things up and basically put everyone's mind at rest about how simple it will be to get a virtual meeting up and running. We have accompanying written manuals to these as well, which you will be able to read through, and they have very detailed instructions that will be able to essentially guide you step by step through the setup of your meets. And then when it's actually up and running, any issues that some of your athletes, competitors, entrants have, they should be able to help with that as well. So first things first, if you're a completely new user to OpenTrack, you need to sign up. So if I just log out here, and then if I head back to the home page, you can see the login/sign up button at the top right. Essentially just create a user account on there. You'll get an activation email, and you need to then just accept that, and you'll be given a login. It's very simple. It'll take you 30 seconds. Once you've got that sorted and you're logged in, you want to check that your club has a record in our database. So if your club is the organisation that is creating this event, they need to be in our database. Now, we've got pretty much every club in the UK and a lot of the ones abroad as well, but if it's a new club, a new organisation, then you will need to double check on this. So from the home page of OpenTrack, you go to the club section and you can simply search for it here. So if I just search for Belgrave, which is my club, we can see that it is loaded into the system. That's step one, make sure it's there. Step two, it needs to have a ID code. The ID code is just a 3 to 5 digit code, which is mnemonic, and it is used to help store the club in our database and also for results presentation as well. So let's say your athlete runs for Belgrave or for Thames, this is what will show up next to their name as well as the club flag. So it makes the athletes quite representative of who they're running for. If your club isn't there, or if it doesn't have a code, then you simply email us and we can add that for you. Once this is done, you just need to set up a Stripe account, which is the online credit card payment service. And that is synced to your club and your club's bank account. We can then give you access to your club's page and sync the Stripe account. This now means that you're good to go for setting up any competitions in the future, and you can take money, whether it's for a virtual race or any other kind of race that you want to put on, and then that money is either your profits or goes towards your clubhouse maintenance or whatever it is. But we also have introduced the charity donation step in our entry journey. So any of that money can be forwarded on to a charity of your choice, which is especially relevant in the age that we're living in at the moment with the COVID-19 crisis ongoing. So if I just go to the manuals that we've got here, as I said, Richard has the link for this in his presentation, so you'll be able to see where to go to view all of these. It is quite extensive, so don't be worried about how long the page is. It literally just shows you everything that you need to do to set up a virtual race and then manage it as well from the off. As I said from the start, I'm not going to run through all of this. It is quite lengthy, quite detailed, and a lot of it is quite self-explanatory. What I want to do is just give you a feel of how easy and quick it can be to set up. So obviously we've got the organisation step, which I just briefly touched on, and then competition is quite simple also. I'm going to skip down to creating your events. So I'm just going to show you a quick YouTube video on that one. So it's essentially going to be how to load your races or your events into the system. Let's just get this running. Sorry guys, I'm not sure if the sound was playing over that. I'm just going to start it again in case it wasn't, and I will just do a quick voiceover myself. Bear with me a second. Right, so essentially this is just the events input grid. What you do here is you're just creating the events which will allow your participants to enter. You can paste this in from Excel if that's where you prepare it. If you've got a lot of them, I'm just typing in on this one just to show you how it works. The number is just what you're calling your events. So I've listed here race 1, race 2, race 3, but just R1, 2, and 3. The event code, as you see, I've done 5K and 10K. They're set in stone. If it was miles, you'd do 5M. If it was a triple jump, it would be TJ. Pole vault would be PV. We've got a list of these on the OpenTrack site, which will show you what codes you need to input. Age groups, we've got all for these ones, so anybody could enter. The 10K I've put senior, so that's not going to be applicable for like U17s, U15s and things like that. And then the gender, it's just a drop down between FM and MF. So again, that's similarly not going to make the first event available for males. The category is user defined. you can't have a duplicate event between event code and category, which is why you've got to put something different in there. So I've got FB and MB for the 5Ks, and then you can just name them whatever you want. The rounds and round one time is shows where we've come from with regards to setting up this with track and field meets. So you just want to put that there's only going to be one round for these because we haven't got any heats or finals or anything like that. And the rest of these columns can essentially just be left blank. And then all you need to do is save this, and essentially that's your entries for your events done. It's very quick, very simple, and now that essentially shows the participants as they're going through the entry journey which of the events they're able to enter. If you're a female senior athlete, you're only going to be entering that 5K and the 10K. You're not going to be shown that male 10K event. The second one that I'll just show you briefly is the scoring page. Let's just go back to our homepage of the YouTube channels. So we have here virtual racing 1.13 and scoring. Give me a second whilst this loads through. Yeah. So this is essentially the way that you can set up a club scoring point system on your competition. So if you want a club feel to your race over and above just some individual results, like what we've just done with the virtual 12-stage relays, then this is where you set this up. So you head to the scoring page via manage. It goes automatically to athletics scoring. Now these are bespoke and coded systems that are hard coded for individual meetings. So whether it's like a specific Welsh athletics one or something for England or the BMAF, we want to bypass those and go straight to the distance scoring tab. And this is where we set them up there and then and create a scoring table. So we essentially follow this format for everyone that you set up. So for this specific one, as we're looking at the mob match, I'm just going to set up a mob match. So we've got the 10K. The order, if we're setting up multiple scoring events, it basically just shows the order that they're listed. As this is the main one for this event, we're going to stick this down as order 1. The categories, the mob match is going to be available to everyone, so seniors, vets, under 17s, etc. So we leave that blank. Similarly, both genders. However, it's only available to Belgrave and Thames Hare and Hounds. Other teams may enter the race and submit their results, but we don't want them included in the match scores. The method of scoring, we have multiple methods that you can score them in. We've got drop down of 5 or 6. The explanation of what each of them do, you can see in the written documentation, just for more detail. On this particular one, we're going to do sum of filtered race positions. So it's going to be a cumulative number, and it will filter out non-scorers and displacements and that sort of thing. We'll just keep it at 1 team per club. Incomplete teams is okay, but they'll get a penalty. And we are going to choose displacement, so it'll adjust the scores based on incomplete teams or whether club members are finishing in before the further people of another team have. You see it's simply done there. That scoring configuration is saved. Just run through another quick example, which would be one of a road relay and how that would work virtually. So we'll choose the women's 5K for this, and we'll just make it a 6-stage. The order of this one, we want to pop that in as order 2. And we're only going to have the senior women available to score in this one. So any youngsters or vets won't be included. There is a category that you can swap, so veterans would be, and that would be in the config up here on at the top left. Again, only available for Belgrave and Thames, and we change this one to sum of times. We'll have 6 scorers, and incomplete teams we do not want for this one. Displacement's not really relevant because it's sum of times. And there we go, that's the 2 scoring systems set up. You can see you just click that button there and it shows you where you go to for the scoring tables. We've not got any results in at the moment, so obviously it's just says 0 finishes. We've got the order as we want. As people submit their results through, or as a race organizer loads them in, those finishes start to update automatically, and they immediately go into the order based on the scoring system and how we've set it up. We just look now at the rest of the manual on here. As you can see, we've looked at 1.8, how to set up the events, and then how to set up the scoring method. I think it's probably worth looking at just an example of an entry journey. How to set up an entry journey is quite a long video. I think it's nearly about 8 minutes long because it goes through all of the different configuration available. But if we just look at the outcome of that and someone running through an example of an entry, you'll get a feel of how that configuration will be displayed on the athlete experience. So let's just have a quick look for this here. Here we go, entry journey. So once you've got your configuration sorted and you've opened your entries up, this is the home page of the meeting we've just quickly set up. You can see we've got the scores tab showing because we've set up our scoring system, and we've got the big green enter here button for people. As I'm logged in and I've got a record in the database, you can click myself and it just loads up your details. Alternatively, you could search to enter another athlete. So I'm looking for Richard here, and we can see that he's got a record as well. So I could click his name to populate him in, or if they don't appear, you want to add someone new, click new athlete and fill in their details. I'm just going to choose myself for this example. If any of the details are wrong, then you can just click wrong person. As you can see, we've got configurable help text on each of these stages as well, which you can change to help your athletes through the process. But if everything's okay, we just click confirm. This is the next stage, so who you are representing. I'll just pause it here. On the configuration aspect of this, there are a few different options that you can choose. So you can have any number of them. So you have unattached, you have club / organization, and within that one you can specify it to be clubs, schools, universities, and that sort of thing. You've also got national teams, which would give you a drop-down option. And then finally, ad hoc teams. So you, as an organizer, could create an ad hoc team, and that would provide another drop-down. So if, for example, we only wanted to make sure that Belgrave and Thames could enter this, we could just create those 2 teams and make sure they're the only 2 options for people to choose from. Similarly, if you had someone just wanting to create a one-off team for a given event, like an office team or a pub team, then you could do that on here as well. If it's an organization, you can search for it here, and you can see it's in our database, so we just choose it. We need to make sure that there's the club code as ever, so if there's not one, then people need to email us to proceed. And then you simply click OK. You can see you've got the summary growing on the right-hand side here. As I mentioned earlier, this only shows the events applicable for you. If you wanted, you could get people to have a configurable option to put in their PB and SB, which would be automatically fetched from Para 10 and Elastopair. It's not that relevant for virtual racing. Extra purchases, again, not that relevant for virtual racing, but you can put those in if you want. It could be whatever you want, if you wanted to post something out, for example. And then we have these custom questions. Now, I'll pause it again. You can put in a few of these, and on this example, we've just said something relevant to the virtual racing. So, do you agree to abide by social distancing rules? The only drop-down option is yes, so they have to click yes to be able to proceed. But you can do whatever you want with this. So if you wanted to get some data from your athletes, you could ask them a question here. It can be open-ended or it could be closed. And you can also use these as a price modifier for your entry if you were charging a price. Similarly, you can price modifiers can include things like age groups, clubs, different events, and that sort of thing. But for virtual racing, it's not overly relevant. And then we have this charity funding step. Again, I'll pause it quickly. You can set a default amount so it's like a suggested donation. As you can see, when I first clicked onto this, it said £10. Or 10, it'll be 10 of your given currency wherever you are in the world. Now that's just a suggested donation that you can set up, and in the hope that your athletes will proceed with that amount. They can reduce it or increase it however much they want. And then we've got various help text that we can put in here. So you've got the name of the charity that you want, a little help text, and then some subtitle down here. If you are charging an entry fee as well for your races, you can automatically proportion a given amount of that to go to the charity, and that would be as well as or instead of a donation. So let's say you charged £5 to enter, you could automatically allocate £4, £2.50, whatever you want to go to your given charity, just to make sure that some money would be raised, as obviously the donation is not mandatory. And then finally, we have the basket. As you can see here, it just says due, £0. We've not got anything to pay for, so that makes sense. And it just says confirm. Now, if you were looking to pay money, it would say pay instead of confirm, and you click that, it will take you through to a credit card screen where you would securely enter your card information. If you've got multiple athletes added into your basket, then you can tick to pay for or delete specific ones, or as you can see here, you can add another athlete, or you can exit and come back to it later. You can add help text to this screen as well. What we've found with the virtual racing, because they're free, people sometimes find they get to this page and they don't click this confirm button. They think they're already done, so they just exit. So a big help text here saying please confirm would probably be quite helpful. But as you can see, I'm just going to click the confirm button on here. Well, in a second anyway. Here we go. It warns you because there's no price attached. Then we've got one confirmed entry. And if we go back, look at the competitors, and we scroll down, we can see here that I've immediately been added to the list. You can see that the rest of the competitors have got numbers, bib numbers next to them. Every competitor in our system for a race needs a unique ID or bib number. Obviously, they're not physical in the age of virtual racing. Everyone prior to me making this entry, I'd already used the competition management automatic number system. A video and instructions for that is in the manuals written as well. And then once I've entered myself here, I'm just given a sort of like a little unique code. You can tell it's not a real bib number because it starts with this underscore. But you can individually assign these athletes a bib number, or you could just renumber them as well, and it would You can choose to delete all the numbers and start again, or just renumber the ones that have since been added. Actually, and that's the end of that one. I'm just going to play you one more quickly, just to give you an idea of how your athletes will be able to submit their results. So obviously this is a new feature created for virtual racing. Prior to this, the competition management system had the method of bulk loading results, which as an organizer, if you want your athletes to send them all through to you, then you can still do that, and you literally just paste in the bib numbers, the performances, and if you want validation, the URL of their Strava or Garmin. And that's very simple. We've got video for that as well. But most of them are going to do this individual submit. So the race organizer doesn't need to get involved too much. So if I just load this up, what we're thinking about doing, and it will be the race organizer's choice. A lot of people won't see the necessity to enter prior to this and then submit a result. It could be like, because it's a virtual race, all you do is enter and submit the result all at the same time. So we could get rid of the entry process or combine the two for the purpose of the virtual racing. But anyway, during the submit window, which is open and configurable by you, your entrants will see this big yellowy orange submit results button. So they will just, sorry, first of all, you'll know that you're able to submit a result because you'll have my entries down here at the bottom, and it will have your name and then the events of what you have entered. If your club, a parent, a team manager, a coach has entered you, you won't be able to submit your result. They will have to do it for you. You can only submit the result for an entry that you've made. So you click that and you're taken to this box. That question mark there will direct you to our written documentation about how to submit a result if anybody needs help. But as you can see, it is quite self-explanatory. So you stick your performance in. This was just a 10K jog that I went and did the other day. And then you pop in your URL. Mine is from Garmin. And then you choose here what results you're wanting to submit for. So I had 2 events, changed it to the 10K, as that's the relevant one for this time. And it's automatically been submitted. You can see we can now close it, or we could submit the 5K immediately. If we look at the results now, we can see straight away that my result has been loaded in. It's the only one on here, as this is just a test. We click that little link, it'll take me through to my run. The Strava one will actually just create a pop-up window within the page. Garmin works slightly differently. As a race organizer, you can also click on this button and edit the times. So this gives you the ability to edit individual times, whether that's if they had like a negative gradient overall over the race. So you see it downhill, 10-second penalty. So you add a note, change the time. Or if you're doing a handicap, you could do this as well. And then if you just refresh the page, this will update automatically. There you go. And that's essentially it for the results submission. It is very easy, and the scores, as we can see, will update automatically as well. So as you can see here, the way that we configured it, we've got lots of penalty scores because at the moment it's a team of 1 when we needed 10 or so. But as that starts to fill up, the penalty scores will go down and the results will adjust accordingly. And that's essentially it. You can see we've got the filtered finishes as well. So there, the videos and the documentation that we've got. It literally does show it end to end via here. I've numbered them, so they are in they're not, as you look at the screen, they're not in the order of what you want to look at them, but the numbers are. So it's starting with 1.3 here, creating a competition. It corresponds to 1.3 here, set up my competition. And if you wanted to get some visual help as you went through the process and some written text, then this would be the way to go. I don't really want to show any more videos on this, purely because it's there for your perusal in your own time, and you're able to work through it whenever you've got a free moment, rather than just watching it on here. They were the main videos, just showing how easy and simple it would be for both yourself and your athletes and your customers, essentially. But we have a test server available. You can see on this screen here that we're on the test server when I took this screenshot. So if anybody wanted to just have a little play on that, create a competition without any worry of getting it wrong or having any having to follow through with it or anything like that, then you can have a play on our test server without any issues. I think that's probably it from the manual side of thing, and just giving a few demonstrations. Richard, Andy, do either of you have anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I've added the virtual racing webinar, so that's the PowerPoint slides, included in which are the links to the website pages you've seen and our YouTube. So that's been uploaded in the handouts section of this webinar.
Okay, perfect.
Otherwise, wanted to invite anyone to ask any questions they may have.
Whilst we're waiting for any questions to come through, on the test server, it's the perfect place to play, but it does get overwritten every night with what's in the live server. So
yes, good point.
do your permanent changes on the live server and your experiments on test.
Andy and Richard, as this is new to all of us, do any of you know if all of the attendees are self-muted or if we've just muted them?
I don't, but they have the option to type questions in the question box if they like.
Good point. Well, I'd say, guys, we've got the forum as well. If any questions want to be popped on there afterwards, and the email address of info@opentrack.run will go to all of the OpenTrack staff, so there'll always be someone on hand during working hours to reply to those as soon as we get a chance. So any questions that might come to you afterwards, I'd suggest first of all heading over to the forum, and if there's anything that you want to just get an individual response to that wouldn't be relevant to anyone else, please do feel free to send it to info@opentrack.run.
So it looks like there's a few questions coming in. First off, whether there's any fees related to setting up events. The fee structures laid out on the website. Either we ask for an upfront fee for an event, and that varies depending on the size of the event, or what may be more popular is setting a flat £1, $1 fee for each entrant participant to the event. Otherwise, for some countries, national governing bodies are getting involved, and with them being involved, that will mean that race entry may possibly be made free for all local clubs.
That's essentially quite a good summary. Yeah, I think some of the federations that may be on this webinar, you've already got a contract with us, so it'll be included in that, obviously. For new customers, short interim period, we're looking at doing what would essentially be a free trial for a week or so. I think that's right, isn't it, Andy?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then what Richard, depending on the outcome of a few things, what Richard has just mentioned will hold true.
Next question is whether there's a Strava Garmin API that can be used to validate the times athletes enter. I don't believe this is yet something that we're using, but definitely something that we're looking into.
Yeah, that's essentially right. So we're looking at getting the API, first of all, from Strava. What we've got in the interim is what you saw in that results submission form. So the athlete is invited, encouraged even, to submit an embed code from Strava, and then it's a bit of self-policing currently to make sure that what they've put in their results submission matches the data on their activity on either Strava or Garmin. Usually what we found is, for example, of the relays, someone of a given team would check the results of athletes directly above his team in the standings, just to make sure. But we are looking at getting that API sorted, hopefully.
Yeah, we're hoping one of our federation clients will help us pay for that, and that obviously would then mean in the notes field we could actually automatically populate if we thought there was something suspicious about a run, either vertical height change or prevailing winds or something of that sort.
Or a lack of cadence suggesting a bike may have been involved, that sort of thing.
Gus, we've had a few questions asking about how to access the test server. Are you able to show that with your shared screen?
Yeah, sorry, that's a very good point. So essentially what we've got, this is the main server. So it's literally data.opentrack.run. It will redirect you to the competitions listings, which is the /x you can see in the URL bar. To access the test server, you literally just want to put test hyphen or data and hit enter, and it will direct you to that. You will know that you're on the test server. There are two clues. One, the big test server in the orange box at the top. Secondly, the OpenTrack icon on your tab will change to a green rather than the standard red. As Andy mentioned, this gets overwritten with data from the live server in the early hours of every morning. So if you're looking for something more permanent, you might want to set up a competition on the live server, wait until the next day, and then you can play around with that and change different things each day.
Great. Next question is from Steve Fury, asking whether there's any restrictions for youngsters.
I guess it is with regards to what our age groups and the definition of those are defined by automatically, depending on the country that you're in. So in the UK, it's by the UKA ruling. So within the competition year and what age you are on a given date in that. Everyone else is by IAAF ruling. As an organizer, I would say it was up to you as to what age group you want to allow into your competitions. I'll just head to the main server again. If I quickly log in, give me a second. I'm just going to go to the competition that we were looking at. So this Belgrade versus Thameslink Hounds mob match. I'll go to the manage screen. And then this config page. So this is where a lot of the, as you'd guess, configuration for the meeting happens. So as we talked about the entries, you choose here what kind of team or club you want people can be assigned to. We scroll down, we have the minimum age. So you can set whatever minimum age you want for your competition. So and regardless of the UKA ruling, this would override it. So if you only want people to be 20 plus, you just pop. Any more, Richard?
Yeah, there's a question from Don Fior whether there's a facility within the system to grade results by age grading or handicap. or whether that needs to be a manual adjustment every time.
If we go to this display tab on here, we have the age grades. So we've got the ability to show category rankings. So if you've got lots of people within for a virtual race, chances are you'll have lots of different age groups and the two genders within there. You can filter in the results to show the different categories. So you would only show M45s, for example, and then it will give you the results of each of them. We can also tick to display age grades, which would go on the right-hand side of the results, just as another column. Handicap at the moment isn't something that we've got coded into the system. This would be something that you'd have to, as we looked at with the results submission, it was something that as a organizer currently you'd need to click on their result and edit the time if that's what you wanted to do, and put a note field on there saying handicap plus or minus whatever you've made the change to.
That's best done as a bulk upload from the spreadsheet. Do all your handicaps.
Oh yeah, very true. Yeah, so I'll just show you, I'll just head to that screen, sorry, to give you a quick idea of what that looks like. So if we've got, we'll go to the women's 5K, for example. Just move this out of the way. So we've got this edit results. So we can see here we've got 3 results in the competition. These results were uploaded on this format. So if as an organizer you wanted to upload them yourself rather than the individuals, you could do it via this screen. All you need to put in is the bib and the performance. Everything else autofills. It will automatically calculate the position, and the names and the category and the team is drawn directly from the bib that you input. You can see here we've got the age grades on there. The URL would be the Strava or Garmin embed code, and then the note would be what you'd want to put in for your handicap.
Great. Next question is with regards to whether everyone registering for a virtual race has to be an OpenTrack user, and whether the race organisers can collect the identities of those registering for the events to be able to contact them at a later date.
So everyone does need to have an account to be able to enter the event. It literally takes 10 seconds to fill in that form. The organisers, we have this mailing feature here. So you can see we've not actually created or sent any messages or anything, because this is just a made up competition. But if you click new message on here, you can choose who you're going to send to. So all paid entries, obviously in this circumstance, it would be all confirmed because there's no money. Participants who have not confirmed, and then this is a combination of the both. And then you can just fill in the form or the email, send that off to them. And you can save it and send it at a later date. You can send a test one to yourself, or you can just send it straight off. We also have load this through this downloads page, which you can only access as a race organizer, which would give you some of the data for the athletes.
Great. Next question is from Henry Pierce, who's looking to organize a virtual race for his company and is wondering whether he can restrict access or race entry to just a set of email addresses of his colleagues.
One of you two might correct me, but as far as I'm aware, that's not possible at the moment. But what you could do as a workaround is never have this enter here button showing on the page. It would always be hidden, and you could provide a secret URL to give to your colleagues or whoever it is that you wanted to enter, and they would then be able to use that to enter. So essentially anyone looking on your competition page wouldn't be able to enter it. It would be hidden from them, but you would be able to make it available to anyone that you wanted.
Next question is about how users can export race results.
Again, so we just briefly looked at that screen. You can access it from the home page as well. So you just go to the downloads one, and you've got the info here. So if it was a paid competition, this paid entries and financials would be quite handy for you. It downloads an Excel document and gives you all of the information you want. All these ones on the left are Excel format, and some of these on the right create a PDF. So if I just click on this one here, so it should load up in a second. If you've got a lot of results, it will take a little while, but you can see here we've only got 4. We're loading up the best results for the senior women, under 17, senior men. But if you've got, they're just standard results. If you've got the team competitions, you can download those as well. I mean, if we do end up getting being able to do more track and field based stuff, then we have like the hand timing race cards, field cards, all of that. Well, when I say if we're able to get it running, obviously this is what we do as our bread and butter, but I mean in a virtual format. And then if you just want a big export, we have a standard stat summary. As you can see, it downloads in Excel format. Power 10 aren't yet accepting virtual racing, but for any other format of racing that you want to do with us, this document here, we'll download it in a format that you can send to them, and it's a simple copy and paste for those guys over there to upload onto their database.
And for the real geeks, Gus, if you go to the URL and just delete the word downloads and type in JSON.
Oh yeah, good point.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you know what that is, you can use it. If you don't, you'll probably never ever want to have a look at
it. Yeah. Any others?
There's a few others, but it might be simpler for us to answer directly in person by email after the event. The final question, though, was with regards to whether the webinar was recorded, and the answer is yes, and we'll be sending that out to you all after it's finished.
It may be worth, we'll probably just pop it up onto our YouTube channel as well, so it'll go in along with all of these other videos, so you'll be able to access it from there and share it as you want. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. If you have any further questions after the webinar, feel free to email in at info@opentrack.run.
Yeah, and there's also the forum as well, which we've mentioned. The link for that can be found on the PowerPoint presentation that Richard has popped into the handouts for the meeting, for the webinar.
Great. All the best, everyone.
Cool.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much for joining, everybody, and I hope it was of use and worthwhile to you. And I hope we see you soon organising some virtual races.